Okay, so you're fairly new to Kovacs and your tracking just sucks. So you're wondering, where do I start? And the truth is, everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're coming from Valorant or Overwatch, striving to have good aim across fields is by far the most important skill I could teach you. Most of you are beginners, but you hyper focus on smaller issues and practice hard scenarios that aren't meant for you right now. Now, if you like that intro, it's actually from my 28-page FAQ that is completely free, and you can get it from the description along with my other free resources such as my playlist GitHub or my Discord, where we have a lot of information. And that's exactly what this video will cover. We'll go through some basics and explain to you what they do and why they work. A lot of people look at my massive GitHub and wonder, where do I start? And honestly, a great starting point is my beginner fundamentals. These are great if you play Valorant or a click focused game. You would play the click focused and then a track focused one if you come from Apex or Overwatch, for example. Another one which is designed sort of to build your aim from the ground up from a 4-week basis, which is exactly what I do with my aim coaching. It is my 0 to hero routine, where you play each playlist for 1 week. You see, it's easily quantified here with beginners, and then you have intermediates. If you have another issue such as losing track of the target, you would then scroll down to that part and play these relevant playlists. Let's say you want some clicking playlists, or maybe you want some Valorant and CS2 playlists, and here you have some relevant playlists, completely free, and everything is in the description. So I was looking through my channel and I realized there's so much information, and me as a beginner, where would I really start? Well, that's what this video is about. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible for you guys. Number one is people ask me, I'm playing Valorant, how do I go about this? And firstly, this is for whatever game you play, you want to build up fundamentals while slowly focusing on your game. That means that you're attacking every single aim field, yes, even playing tracking if you're playing Valorant, but you're focusing more on clicking, so static and dynamic and flicking routines. So it's more like a 60-40 or 70-30% split there. And after you begin to get good fundamentals, you can actually begin to increase that split and almost focus purely on Valorant if that's all you do, or another game. So I thought I'd go through some scenarios and tell you guys what they're useful and which scenario you should apply them to, and maybe if you see something in your own VODs and you see this is an issue I need to solve, how do I solve it? That's pretty much what this is about. So number one is pokeball. Now for pokeball, it's very important to hold down mouse 1 all the time. Why? Because essentially it's intuition based, it's raw aim based, it's not clicking based. So if this was a clicking scenario, we would have to worry about flicking and then adjusting and then confirming we're on target and then clicking. So that's a lot of stages your brain subconsciously has to go through only because it's clicking. But because we're holding down mouse 1 all the time, we're purely relying on a singular thing, and that's reaching the target. So it's more intuition or raw based aim. And if you notice, I want to tell you guys how to play this. It's to move in a slow line. You almost want to imagine that you're dragging your hand through water and not snapping and then adjusting. Because if you snap and adjust, your brain will then rely purely on this snapping part, since you're a beginner and you don't have quick enough adjustments. So purely for pokeball, we want to go like this, slowly just moving from target to target, holding down mouse 1, and in turn that will work these faster snaps. And how that helps us is that if a target appears out of nowhere, we will be able to cleanly move to him in a quick manner and not over or under flick to the best of our abilities. So after that, we have target switching. Now target switching relies on the same thing. We're holding down mouse 1, but the targets are moving, which means that we also have to constantly update our crosshair. Now, what's the difference between this and pokeball, since we're both holding down mouse 1? It is that this one relies more on speed. So pokeball works your ability to move cleanly between this and hit near or around this target, while target switching is more about just getting to the target as quickly as possible, essentially. And again, this is very intuition based because it's holding down mouse 1. So all we're focusing on is flicking and not clicking, which is the big difference here. And after we move on to a little bit of dynamic and clicking, I'll explain to you guys where that helps. So dynamic, now this might actually look a little bit like target switching, but it's not, because I'm actually clicking. I don't know if you can hear my mouse all the time, but what I want to do is talk about two different things that I see people struggle with. Number one is that people will spam all the time. They will just spam and click and treat it like a static scenario and just try to reach the target as quickly as possible. That's not what you want to do. And secondly, I see people tracking like this for super long periods of times and then clicking. That's not what you want to do either. The answer relies somewhere in between. You want to track for a little millisecond, just a little millisecond. And that is to build up consistency and a solid foundation. Because if you're tracking a target and he decides he's going to change directions, you want to be able to adjust to that very, very quickly. And that's what it's all about. Just about tracking for a millisecond and adjusting and then clicking. Getting into those habits. Now, static is something I'm sure you're very, very used to. It's balls that stand still. But it's a little bit more complex, because if I want to give you one rule to think about, it's to confirm before you're clicking. Now, don't get into the habit of thinking, oh, this is so easy, I'm just going to click and do whatever. That's where people mess up and why people say static is useless. You want to focus on getting 100% accuracy. All right. And what does that mean? It means that when you're getting close to the target, you want to subconsciously chill a little bit. Okay, I'm chilling. Yeah, I'm 100% on target. Now I want to click. And that sort of means bringing everything back a little bit, not necessarily focusing so much on getting to the target and speeding up and just clicking like you see on the Vods. It means that we're going to build up a little bit of a foundation right now. We're beginners. We're easing into it. It's a dance, you know what I mean? And a lot of you guys want to force this dance, but that's not how it works. Build up solid foundations, and then after a while, after 3 months, 6 months, a year, you begin to let loose a little bit more subconsciously, right? And again, this is for beginners, not intermediate players. So if you're focusing on what I'm doing, I'm sort of chilling a little bit on the bot. I'm chilling a little bit on the bot and then clicking. And I'm chilling a little bit on the bot just to build up those foundations of, yeah, now I'm 1000% on the target, now you can click. Because if I get loose with my clicking, if I just start clicking, your brain is going to have a harder time identifying right from wrong and when he should click or when he should not. So if you're constantly flicking around the target, your brain will think that that's an okay pattern to have. So you don't want to show him a bad pattern. You only want to show your brain good patterns, and that is to confirm before clicking. And it's very different because you can confirm before clicking and still move fast. Like you can move your hand very fast, but still confirm, you know, because your clicking is independent from your hand speed. And I want to touch on this for a brief moment. If you look back at your Vods and what you're doing is this, flicking fast and then adjusting slowly, that means that you have that means they have unclean lines and you have slow micros. You work on unclean lines through pokeball and you work on slow micros through something like target switching or even static, clustered static scenarios. Now, smoothness is useful for any type of game. It's sort of like smoothly following the bot. It helps with any game, and it's more about making your aim look clean rather than reacting. But it's also these, if you notice, I'm not going to click, but it's these smaller movements that you also always have to adjust, and you can see how that could indirectly help your mouse control a lot and make your aim more fluent, I would say, and more glued to the target. So if you imagine this is an enemy's head, if you can track this hypothetically perfectly, then you choose when to click or not. So it helps any style of game. Even if you play Valorant or something like that, play smoothness, trust me. After that, we're moving on to something called reactive or strafes. Very, very similar, except he's going to have a more of a bang change in movement. So it's more of a replica to how people would move in game or maybe in something like Apex. But you could see how it's very useful since I'm constantly having to react to new visual information. So if I can react to his changes quicker and better, you could see how that would even help me in something like Valorant, because if he's doing a sudden strafe in Valorant and I can react to his change, then that will give me better mouse control indirectly. So everything is sort of bundled up together. There's no such thing as reactive, it only works this game or that game. It's more that reactive is more focused on Apex, but it's not that it's only for Apex, for example. So you want to have everything as a beginner. Lastly, I want to talk about this field, which I see very few people talk about. This is movement. You see that it's a movement to three ways. Either the score bar at the bottom right, the one that just came up, move to earn more points. And lastly, if the scenario is called dodge. Now, I know this particular scenario isn't, but usually they'll be called dodge. Now, how this changes, if I'm just moving like this, that is one style of aim. But if I suddenly start moving, that is going to be completely different style of aim. Since I'm not relying on purely moving my mouse, I'm relying on my movement also moving my mouse. And by adding them together, we're sort of throwing them both into sync. So you can see if I can control my movement and my mouse, which is relevant in every single game, I'll then be able to have more control. If you notice a trend here, it's more about control rather than specific movements or patterns that you see in game. Because you want to be able to control your mouse and your aim no matter the situation you're put in. And that's what aim training is about, less about flashy aim or stuff like this. You're also going to have to forgive my aim because I haven't aim trained in forever, so thought I'd make this quick video for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and also be sure to check out my GitHub. I have a lot of playlists there and a lot of people don't know it. I have an FAQ which is 30 pages long or something, so be sure to read that as well. There's a lot of free information and resources that I have in my description that a lot of people miss out. They're also in the Discord, or if you just want to get aim coaching from me, that's also sick. So yeah, done.